A really good win for us. Obviously, we're all perfectionists in this profession. There's things that we need to work on before our next game with George Mason. There's things that we need to work on with before we see these guys again. But really proud, especially of the way that we came out. I've told people I made the mistake when I first got here of not appreciating, not understanding what the rivalry meant to folks. I think we were taught that lesson a few times, and sometimes in games like that by VCU, and just vowed that we wouldn't let that happen again. So we really, I felt, got our players ready for this game. I feel like they were energized. You were worried about them being too much of that, but the way that they came out today, just incredibly proud as a coach, the maturity of our big three and the seniors and Allie Sweeney. A proud moment as a coach, and then obviously you saw what the crowd was, just the energy that I think we fed off of today. So kudos to the crowd, kudos to everybody that worked hard at this. It was a moment, right? It was a moment that I think everybody that played here will remember.
Hey, Rachel, can you discuss Richmond's defense? Coach has been emphasizing the importance of defense along with the offense that Richmond plays, and perhaps how you sent a message today in that area.
Yeah, I feel like the past few practices he's been very hard on our defense and being in gaps and, kind of forcing the kick and rebounding, all that stuff. I think in the first quarter-ish, we kind of used our defense as momentum for offense. We got a lot of points in transition there. But I think we had a good balance today. I mean, obviously he's going to probably pick apart our defense, which fair enough, but I think we had a good win today.
Could you speak to how the crowd influences how Richmond plays?
Yeah, for sure. Just when we walked out after the huddles to walk to the jump ball, I was looking around and I'm like, Maggie, this is insane. Like the amount of people that are here. And then I think after the third quarter, they put like the graphic up that it was 5,224 people here. Like that's insane. And just having that support, like when you make a big shot, like that crowd just kind of like boosts you guys up. And I just think it's amazing to have them here today.
In the last two games, Richmond has excelled without Maggie excelling as a scorer anyhow. I wonder if you could talk to that point and perhaps how the support has grown and is important to the team.
I mean, I think anytime Maggie's on the floor, she's going to benefit us regardless of what she's doing. She's a good player, offensive and defensively. And I think also too, like our starting five and the bench players, we all can score well, we all can move the ball and kind of play Richmond basketball. So I think, she knows that she's getting guarded a different way, to set screens or do other ways to get herself open and get us open. So I don't think I would look at it like that.
What was the film session like for yesterday? Because you touched on it when we spoke to you, Coach, yesterday, and how much of a catalyst was that to the fast start this afternoon?
Yeah, I'd love to hear a player's perspective of what the film session was. I think, we started with some positives, right? We've been playing really, really well offensively. I think since the Rhode Island game, we really felt like we had to make some changes and really improve some things, which I think we've done. You look at the numbers, I think we've done a really good job with that. But it's one of those as a coach, you're like, I just felt like we've been riding our offense. And that's not how this has been built here. Yes, we've been explosive. We've done some really good things offensively, but the defense was something I was not comfortable with after the Dayton game. I didn't think that we played very well. I told our players I didn't think it looked like anything with us. This morning at shoot-around was, hey, you returners, like we're going to reintroduce you a little bit to what Richmond defense is. You new kids, it's time to buckle up and learn what our defense is. And we've had times, in fairness, this year that we've done that, but really proud of them. I thought that was a really great defensive effort today, and they learned.
Rachel?
Yep. I would say after that film session before practice yesterday, or 2 days ago, it was a little quiet, But I think the point got across. Obviously, we still have to do better in gaps and overall our defense. But I think we have gotten better from the last game. But obviously, there's still a lot more to improve on. And we have some time off until our next game, so I think we can focus on that in practice.
Any other questions?
So today you're also honoring National Girls and Women's Sports Day, and lots of little girls in the crowd today. So what's it like playing honoring them?
Yeah. Also, a lot of those girls are also our campers too, so we have a personal connection with them as well. I think it's huge. Just having them there, and they think that we're like the best things ever. So it's good to kind of feel that as well. But just to see that they're like looking up to us, and just as like a team, we want to make sure that they have good role models to look up to, and I think we kind of try to do that, and I think we do that really well. That's why they come back every time.
Absolutely. Coach, you saw you also have some first years out there getting very valuable minutes. So what is it like for them to get that experience and kind of shaping the future of center basketball?
Yeah. Again, I think it's been a really great 8 days for our new kids. I think obviously with Alicia being out in the game against Davidson, it really challenged us. It put a lot of stress and weight, not just on Maggie and her performance that day, and kind of our three that have been doing this for a bit. But I thought they really grew up during the Davidson game, and I thought they were better in practice this week, and a good week of maturity. They've been good, and they've had to be a really big piece for this. I actually let my mind wander and went back and looked at stats for some of these guys. Allie Sweeney, what she did her freshman year, and then you look at these guys are playing a lot more than what even Allie did. And Allie's first team all-conference. I'll put her up against anybody out there. So I think you never understand, when you're a freshman, you don't understand the patience that this requires and the process that this is. Maggie and Rachel had exceptional senior years. We were at a different point in our program at that time. And so we've asked a lot of Rain. We've asked a lot of Ava. I think sometimes they don't feel like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. I've got the history of understanding what it's going to look like down the road. So I think they've been a big piece of this. I think Shanika's been getting a little bit more comfortable. I thought she was great today. And, so we've been playing well, but I think to your point, and I appreciate you bringing it up, I do feel like we've gotten a lot of contributions from other folks. We all knew this wasn't Maggie Dugan and the others. Maggie knew this wasn't Maggie Dugan and the others. She had an exceptional game, and she's been playing well. And I will defend that kid, man. We were different when she was on the floor today. So it was not just, 14, 7, and 3 is really good for a lot of coaches to have their players, or today. There was nothing wrong with Maggie. She was exceptional. I think we were, plus 29 in her 26 minutes today. That was, and we were, at every point, we were better with her on the floor.
Rachel mentioned you got a few days off before Mason.
Yes.
Coming up, what will this week look like for you guys?
Mason's a tough opponent. This is something that's been marked here for a while. I will admit, kind of after the Rhode Island game, realized the importance of what the next 3 weeks were. And they've heard this. It's not just we have to do this by the time we see Mason. It was really just we have 3 weeks right now. That this is middle of January. I don't care. 22 years, man. You're at different points of your program. Middle of January is just about improving. And I said we've got 2 days to improve every single time, and then we get an evaluation. And then we got 2 days to improve, and then we got an evaluation. This week we also need to combine that with some rest, So we'll go tomorrow morning just because the kids don't have school. So we'll do that. And then we're off Tuesday. We'll practice again Wednesday. We'll be off Thursday. I just wanted them to have a break. I think mentally they need to be fresh. Physically they need to be fresh. As we've been around a little bit, we know how important that is in 2 months. So we'll get out on the road recruiting a little bit. I think my kids got a few games this week. I'm excited to go watch. And then my wife is leaving me. She's on a plane right now to Miami she's an IU grad, so she's cheering hard for the Hoosiers and leaving us behind and watching it at home. So we'll enjoy some of that and obviously a lot of film this week.